Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 31st episode of the Fans of DC Universe podcast, the only DC podcast for the fans, by the fans, and the best source for all DC Universe news and discussion on everything DCU. Joining us this week, we have the wonderful, awesome TornadoSoup.
What? Oh.
Oops, TornadoSoup. Who's
Hi.
wonderful and awesome. And then the AwesomeSquid.
Hi.
And then, of course, me, Nathan.Payson, your host. This week, we will be discussing Meta Madhouse, the virus, because apparently we can't say its name, or YouTube might block us, according to TornadoSoup. I don't know how I feel about that. And DC Solicits, and some early sales numbers, and maybe some more stuff. So, without further ado, let's talk about the comics coming out this week. We are going to be this week on DCU. Actually, normally we do what came out, but I thought it'd be better for us to talk about what's coming out instead. So I'm going to try that instead this week. DC First Issue Special number 5, Detective Comics number 353, Ellipso number 1, House of Mystery number 202, Sun Devils number 8, Super Friends number 1, The Spectre number 1, Wanted number 6, and for your DC Universe sort of in present stuff, you have Catwoman number 9, Hawkman number 10, Justice League Dark number 9, Red Hood Outlaw number 32, Supergirl number 28, Superman number 9, The Batman Who Laughs the Grim Knight number 1, The Flash number 66, and Wonder Woman number 66. So, what did you guys read this week?
So I read a few different things. The thing that stands out most in my mind is First Issue Special number 4 with Lady Cop.
Okay, so what are the First Issue Specials? For those who don't know.
They were basically an attempt by DC to launch a new series, but without actually starting at the first issue. Because I'm not 100% sure if this is the exact reason why they did it, but I know that back in the day, people actually bought first issues less because it seemed less trustworthy. When a series gets to like 300, 400 issues, then obviously people are reading it for a reason. But a first issue isn't as, there's not as much support to it.
It's the opposite.
Yeah. Well, and that's what it's become. Partially just because of collectors. Because first issues just mean more when collecting, but so
it also means a starting point.
Yeah.
Whereas back then they didn't really do that with starting points, right?
Yeah, because there really wasn't, especially at DC, there wasn't really ongoing storylines. You could move around. You could read Flash issue number 153 before 110, and you probably wouldn't notice a difference.
Yeah.
Unless it was like an origin. Yeah. But anyway, the first issue specials were kind of an attempt to have their cake and eat it too. Introduce a new character that could be spun off into their own title if they garnered enough fan response. Sales. Yeah.
And how's Lady Cop?
It is the most confusing and bizarre comic I've ever read. It is so awful.
Wow.
I don't think the best pitch I can give you is there is a lady that is also a cop. It can't really be distilled into one singular pitch, because for one, over 23 pages, there's 4 stories that are told, and they don't really have a beginning or an end. They just happen and then abruptly stop. So it opens and Eliza Warren, I think is her name. She's hiding under a bed, and it turns out that a murderer wearing white cowboy boots came in and murdered all of her roommates. And she remembered that he was wearing white cowboy boots. So the female officer that was asking her for details said that, oh, you remembered he had white cowboy boots. That means that you should be a police officer. And so she became a police officer.
What?
Yeah.
Wait. Can you repeat that again?
So she remembered that the killer was wearing white cowboy boots. And so the female officer who was, asking her all the questions said, "Oh, you have like a great eye for this kind of stuff. We could use more ladies like you out in the field. You should become a police officer."
Because of shoes.
Yeah, she remembered the type of shoe and the color, which I feel like if your best friends are getting murdered by someone and that someone is wearing like white cowboy boots, that's something you're going to remember because no one wears white cowboy boots, especially murderers.
Yes.
Or maybe especially murderers, I don't know. But yeah, so she becomes a police officer, and
just like that.
Yeah, and during the the graduation ceremony at the academy, there's and also for whatever reason she wears a skirt the entire issue, even though all the other female officers are wearing pants. Is generally
is it like a sad attempt to try to give her like a costume, sort of?
I think so. I think they were desperately trying to have something stand out. But then at her graduation, there's this, I guess there's this guy who flunked out and was mad about it. So he came to protest, and then as he's protesting, he just pulls out a grenade and tries to kill everybody. And so Lady Cop just judo flips him and throws the grenade into a garbage can so that it can blow up safely in the garbage can. And then everyone's like, "Wow, you're real good, Lady Cop." And then she's like, "Thanks, I am real good."
Okay.
Yeah.
Recapturing the murderer
is this good, what year was this out? Was this comic released? Here, I'll look it up.
70s at some point. I don't.
The details aren't very forthcoming right now. Oh, there you go. It was released in 1975, smack in the middle of the Silver Age. This is a weird Silver Age comic, but
that's not Silver Age.
Yeah, that's
75 bronze.
That's bronze.
Bronze, yeah.
Wow.
Silver.
Wait, then what? Okay, here's a question: what triggered the Bronze Age?
I think
Nothing.
Generally, what I've seen, is the death of Gwen Stacy is what triggers the Bronze Age.
It's
I don't
more
know.
A shift in the attitude of comics transferring between the Silver Age to the.
Yeah.
It's the Bronze Age is less of an actual definable era. Like the Golden Age, the Silver Age, the Modern Age. Well, there's really multiple ages in the Modern Age, but they're all definable. They're clear eras. The Bronze Age is more just a transitional era between the Silver and Modern Age. That's how I've always seen it, at least.
Interesting. Okay. What else did you guys read this week?
I didn't get through Lady Cop. That's just the first 10 pages.
I've been reading
What?
Yeah.
What?
Actually, wait, hold on. That might be less than 10 pages.
That's a lot.
Okay,
but
so last thing, do you recommend reading this thing or not?
I guess.
Yes, but don't go in expecting something good. Okay, so that's 6 pages in, and that's including the cover.
Whoa.
This is a fast-moving comic.
I mean, at least they're giving you a lot of bang for your buck, I guess. A lot of story packed into the issue. How many pages is the whole thing?
21.
Yeah, 21 including the cover.
Yep.
So you're a nice, you're only a quarter through it. Already got the full origin story and the, proving herself scene, so.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I kind of love it, though.
It's like Silver Age origin stories.
Yeah.
Yes.
Golden Age origin stories are only 1 or 2 pages.
So this week I read Flash number 751. So I took a break from Flash and I read Flash 750 and I was like, you know what? I kind of just want to start reading and staying caught up with the Flash. And you know who they kill in issue 751? Possibly. The spoiler alert. But okay, if you don't want to know, skip ahead 20 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Barry Allen. The Flash.
Whoa.
Now, this is probably isn't permanent, but I think it's notable. The whole idea is that Paradox is so powerful that he can do this.
What? No, comic book characters can never come back from being killed. This is permanent as heck.
What? Yeah, exactly. So that's probably about 20 seconds. So, so we're all so shocked by what they happened in that comic. And I'm looking forward to seeing where it keeps going. I think there's an interesting point to be made. Paradox, his whole power is basically he gets his power from every time. He gets more power every time Barry or one of the Flashes changes the history. So his whole thing is like his powers basically comes from all the paradoxes and things that don't make any sense in the timeline.
That's actually pretty interesting.
Which is especially interesting because we keep talking about how broken all this stuff is, like the DC timeline is right now. So to have a villain that's like whole power comes from broken timelines, it's kind of really interesting. However, the way they show his powers is just weird. So it's not actually all that interesting. Plus there's like a weird double crossing / double agent thing that doesn't make any sense.
I read part of it. Like, there's a friend bought it and gave it to me. Told me to read these 2 pages.
Which 2 pages?
I can't remember. It's just Paradox like beating up Barry Allen.
Okay.
Savagely. Well, basically talking exactly the same rhetoric that Wally West fans use.
Interesting.
It's funny. I mean, like, I don't know if that was intentional or not.
Yeah.
But and I'm not dissing Wally West fans at all, by the way. It might have sounded like that. No. I'm just saying that, like, the exact same arguments in defense of Wally West, well, not really in defense, but, like, people explaining why they like Wally West, Paradox uses the exact same argument, like, against the Flash. It's weird. It's like, he's like, you know what, it would have been better if you stayed dead. Why do you get to define the history, Barry Allen? You're not like the last Flash.
Yeah, and I thought it was actually very effective.
I don't know. I'm not saying it wasn't. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying that it was also kind of funny.
I just thought there were parts that were just horribly written. The other thing I read was, I know I've been reading a lot of recent stuff lately. Whatever. I've also been reading a lot of X-Men, so whatever. The other thing was Superman 22 was horrible.
I'm sure. I didn't read it.
Oh my god. Like, there's this, I'm just gonna spoil part of it because it's insane. There's like this video that apparently says that like Superman's declared himself king of the world, and then Lois Lane has this thought. I'm actually gonna pull up the direct quote because it's so stupid that I don't want to mess this up because it's so funny.
Oh boy!
But it's gonna take me a second because I gotta go through my comics stash to figure it out. But I know. Oh no, 2018. No, not 2016. But it's so, like, this is my problem with Bendis. He thinks he understands dialogue, but like he really doesn't. I feel like at this point he's had so long to prove himself.
You know,
that I'm just disappointed. You know
how he does like 30 series at once. I think he just quickly types up first drafts and submits those as final drafts, which is why the dialogue is so horrendous. Because it's not always. I think that sometimes he spends time on the issues and then the dialogue is fine, but often he'll just, oh no, I have like 20 more series to do and they're all due next week. Quick, type them up. And then that's how you get the repetitive and bad dialogue and Green Arrow saying sup nerds, stuff like that. It's a whole thing.
Okay, so this reporter comes to Lois Lane, who's like in hiding, and asks her for a quote about Superman calling himself the king of the earth in like a video. And they end up being convinced by Lois that the video is not real. But as Lois shuts the door into her room and has a moment alone, she says, Clark, that's the kind of thing you tell a wife. Wait, if he did that, that would make me queen of the earth. So, okay, no, I need a lawyer. I need all the lawyers. It's like Lois being like, wait, if Clark is the king of the earth, then that makes me the queen of the earth.
I don't think Bendis likes Lois.
No, which is weird. Because Lois is totally a Bendis character. right?
Well, nope. Get her the
Everything
heck away
right.
from Superman and have her appear all the time still anyways to reinforce how much I don't like her.
Also, they're setting up. They had like some
I
interesting
can't
stuff
tell
with War
because
World.
Lois shows up a lot for a character that Bendis supposedly hates. Do you think she
Yeah.
shows up just so he can? I don't even know
It's
what's
weird.
happening. Like, it's so weird. Like, Lois Lane is a good character. Use her well.
And like Devil's Advocate, I think there's something interesting about like Lois sort of trying to have to be like the human defendant of like everything
Superman.
like that Superman, does, and having to be like stand by his side even when she has no like even when she's somewhat so far removed from the whole conversation, like the whole chaos. But when you have lines like this girl, like Lois trying to escape, and the FBI finds her and says, "Is your husband the so-called king of the earth around by any chance?" And she's like, and this is her final quote. "Okay, no more doors for me. I'm done with doors." I'm like, what? And I think it's part of my first.
These.
Which is like, I wonder, if someone's even editing his work, because sometimes I'm like, what? And then I go to like critic websites, and people are like praising it, and I'm like, what? I just feel like there's some disconnect between the critic thought and my thought on this. But hey, look, I don't want to be too.
That door line sounds like someone trying to write like Bendis, like some first-year writer trying to be like Bendis.
Because Bendis can write like a first-year Bendis.
Well, yeah.
But enough of that. We have other things to talk about.
Wait,
so... Oh, wait. First, I found out that Lady Cop was actually in seasons 4 and 5 of Arrow.
What?
Wait, what?
Yeah, so according to our Wikipedia page...
That explains why 4 was so bad. Are you serious?
Yeah, so according to her Wikipedia page,
is this
she appeared.
You just posted from it.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So she appeared in the All New Adam number 6 and number 12, and then appeared in seasons 4 and 5 of Arrow, and hasn't appeared in anything else.
This is so weird.
Multiple episodes of Arrow feature Lady Cop.
Yeah. I feel like they just needed a name and decided to.
The Arrowverse does that all.
Yeah, and they
create a character and they'll just slap a name on.
Yeah, but usually it's a wink and a nod to the fans. Hey, we can't really fit this character in right now, but we've got a similar character who is dying to see Lady Cop on TV. Who has been begging
that one person who bought the first issue and is this'll, and then realized that they wasted all their money, and then they're
I'm sure there is somebody who's a huge fan.
Oh yeah, who's read every appearance of her just because she's in it. I'm sure. So, let's talk about something else. Talk about DC Comics.
You read all of her appearances by accident.
I don't know. But anyway, let's talk about DC Comics solicitations. So there's a lot of interesting little tidbits. One of which is Batman 3 Jokers is finally coming out.
Which they said was going to come out 2 Decembers ago.
But they never gave a release date, so now we have an actual release date.
They did, though, I think. I think they gave a release date. They're like, oh yeah, a specific date of fall, 2017.
I don't think it was ever solicited, though.
Yeah, it might not have been solicited.
But now we have an official release date. It's coming out June 17th, or the first issue is. It'll be 48 pages.
Fall 2018.
And it'll be Black Label. And that's about all I have to say about it. I feel like I have so many questions about how this thing would even work. Is it in continuity? Is it not in continuity? All those sorts of questions.
It has to be in continuity because there's been in continuity references to it.
But we shall see. The other thing,
the whole basis of it was it was hinted at in continuity, and then DC Rebirth #1 even points to it.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I have a lot of questions.
I feel like it's completely changed from the original vision was.
Mm-hmm. The second big news is Deceased 2. No, I've never read the first Deceased, but people keep telling me I need to read it. I know. I need to read it. It's just I'm so busy right now. Actually, I'm not
Deceased.
Thanks to this virus thing, I'm actually not all that busy anymore. So maybe I'll read it.
Well, it's about a virus. The first chapter is called Going Viral. So it'll fit. It'll be thematically relevant.
Or maybe you won't want. Maybe you won't want to read it now because it's just a little too close to home.
Speaking of close to home, okay, so my most anticipated comic for tomorrow, I'm just going to say this real quick because people don't necessarily know it's coming out, is there's another DC superhero universe that's trying to take off starting, I want to say, this week. I'm going to double check that, though. But,
what?
Yep, so it's coming out on Wednesday. It's called The Resistance, and it's written by J. Michael Straczynski, and with art by Mike Deodato. It's by publisher AWA, and the first comic issue is called The Resistance. It's going to be like this kickoff comic for like the future of the universe, 6-issue miniseries. And what's so interesting about this is it sort of takes place in the wake of a global of a global virus that takes over and kills lots and lots of people and results in the manifestation of superpowers for lots of people. Now, this comic is shockingly relevant. It's one of those weird things where the comic was written months ago and finished months ago, but now it's super relevant.
So it's like the Amazo virus if it kicked off the whole universe.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Amazo virus if anybody ever actually cared to do anything.
Yeah. But it's blunt, but it currently has a 9.7 critic rating on Comic Book Roundup, which is very high, although there's only been 3 outlets which have sent their review score in. So there's still a ways to go. But it's shockingly relevant, and I think timely and shockingly terrifying, and you guys should go read it. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Please let me know. I'm just curious. Either send me a DM in Discord or on DC Universe. So anyway, going back to DC solicitations, Dark Knight's metal continues to look amazing.
Death metal?
Yeah, death metal.
Dark Knight's death metal.
Dark Knight's death metal, yeah. Look at that. Have you guys seen the Bat monster truck? I just love it.
I actually did not see that. I've been keeping up on news.
There's a Batman monster truck in this title.
I'm really excited for it.
With the Swamp Thing, Scott Snyder's bringing back his Swamp Thing title. He says this is the culmination of his work, and I was I guess. But now he because it's culmination of his Batman run and his Justice League run. But now he's bringing in Swamp Thing stuff. So
I like Scott Snyder's Swamp.
Scott Snyder did really good on Swamp Thing. Just completely creepy, horrifying, but also really cool. But it's a picture of the cover is the Batmobile with Swamp Thing, with a Swamp Thing that's kind of deranged and almost diseased, with massive fire torches in his hands, on the back of the monster truck, and then Wonder Woman with her chainsaw of truth and stuff. Actually, her chainsaw of truth isn't in this image, but Wonder Woman's in front of the car, exactly in front of the car, to where either Wonder Woman's running at the speed of light, which I guess she can, or the Batmobile is moving at the snail's pace.
So wait, I'm wondering, is that actually Wonder Woman?
Yes,
Woman?
The Wonder Woman. It is Wonder Woman. It's a Wonder Woman story, right?
Oh yeah, but I'm wondering if we're going to be getting. We got a bunch of alternate Batmans because it was a Batman story practically. Are we going to get a bunch of alternate Wonder Womans?
Well, we haven't actually seen an alternate Wonder Woman. If that's the case. It's possible.
So, Chainsaw of Truth Wonder Woman definitely has been confirmed to be an alternate one.
No, it could be. I think it's the actual Wonder Woman, but we don't know.
I think it's the actual one too, because it says she strikes to deal with Perpetua or something.
But we'll see.
What if Chainsaw of Truth Wonder Woman is like the Wonder Woman from Last Night on Earth? Because if it's really the culmination of all of his work, then...
Yeah, but that's Black Label, right?
Yeah.
And Black Label's generally out of continuity, right?
Wait,
Yeah.
what did you say?
Exception being the
cut
Sandman
out,
stuff.
and I completely missed. What were you saying, TornadoSoup?
What if the Chainsaw of Truth Wonder Woman is the Last Night on Earth Wonder Woman?
Well, actually, Scott Snyder did say that he did tweet out or say in an interview that the death metal will open months later on an Earth that should be recognizable by people who read Batman Last Night on Earth. So, yeah, pretty much it's going to be. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, there's two last details I want to say about the Solicits. One of which is the opening of Joker War begins with Joker sending out the worst Joker toxin attack ever, causing chaos. Yep. This is directly from the Solicits. Reeling from the effects of the worst Joker toxin attack ever, Batman is on the run through Gotham City, pursued by the dark shadows and voices that haunt his past and present.
Oh.
So we'll see. But also, all the Batman titles now have tied in, except I want to say Red Hood Outlaws. I'm trying to double check that before I quote that. Yep, all of the Batman titles except Red Hood are tying in, and Detective hasn't yet.
Wait, tie-ins have already released for Joker?
No, the tie-in Solicits, all the Batman titles will have tie-ins except Detective and Outlaw. And my understanding is Detective it's just going to be on the back end. Because they talk about the Joker all along. The Joker has been a master puppet behind the torment of Two-Face. So they'll add, it's possible that the Joker will be a thematic tie-in or something. I'm a little confused by that with Detective, but yeah, all the titles will be impacted by Joker. And the last thing I want to say about the Solicits, because I'll be frank, there's nothing. We talked about all the interesting stuff already. Is Generations 2, Age of the Metahuman, was absent from the Solicits. So what happened there? That's 5G, right?
Plans are changing.
Apparently. Bleeding Cool, who's been sort of our source on everything 5G, said that it's just been delayed and that they're tweaking some things. They're tweaking some parts of it, and that's we'll see. Expect it's quite possible that they're going to be tweaking some stuff from Generation 1 too, and that we could see Generation 1, Age of Mystery, getting a delay too.
Huh.
Now, we don't know how big these changes are. It could be him being I want to change this page and this page because I don't want this to be on the
they're
timeline.
Probably pretty big changes, considering all the editorial stuff going on.
I don't know how. Yeah, there's a lot of people on this, right? So I don't know how much Jim Lee is changing and not changing. And hopefully, his comic still turns out great. I'm still excited for it. I think one of the big things is that Jim Lee doesn't want the timeline to be as definitive, sort of aging up Superman to being 85 years old or whatever. He doesn't want to do that. That's one of my understandings. So, but we'll see. Or maybe he just wants a rewrite for clarity's sake. Who knows? Right? It's way too early to tell. But it'll be interesting to see what goes on with 5G. Although I am a little disappointed that there is nothing 5G related coming out that month. Right? Which is, I was saying, also there's another Flash story, which could also be the final Flash story. It's after Flash Age. They're going to have the Legion of Zoom. Ooh.
No.
Not the Legion of Doom, the Legion of Zoom.
Wow.
I know, right? So clever.
Most dangerous superpower ever.
So
Tons.
I'm gonna try something new because I got some requests to shorten some episodes, and I have a feeling this will go. The Med and Madhouse stuff will all go over. So I'm gonna do the Med and Madhouse stuff in a separate video. They'll both release at the same time, and we're gonna close off. So we're gonna do all the new stuff, and then we'll just do a fun Med and Madhouse segment and see how long it goes. Okay, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So that way we can have a shorter, like, this is the news section, this is just our goofing off a little bit. That way we can have the best of both worlds. So the last two things on my list, well, there's three things, I guess. Have you guys been following All-Star Games? Because this is the first time I've ever been on the podcast and not watched that weekly episode.
I have not. I did not.
This is the first time I'm not caught up on the DC weekly stuff.
I haven't seen it either, so
I'm just not excited for it, you know.
Same.
Like it's so clear it's just filler content, you know. And there are people who are really enjoying it. Great for them. It's not my type of thing.
I think they tried to make something good.
I don't actually think it's all that bad. It's just not my kind of type of content, right?
Yeah, no, that's how I feel too.
Like I actually kind of enjoy it at times. It's just not for me.
Yeah. Well, come, season 2, if there is one, then that'll probably be that should be better. I feel like this was kind of put together somewhat quickly when they realized that there was going to be a short gap of time where they weren't going to have anything coming out weekly. Because
they're like, what can we make in like a week?
Yeah, so they came up with something real quick just to bridge the gap between the two halves of Harley Quinn and then Stargirl.
Yeah, and I think part of my frustration too is that if you think about, and that's why Harley Quinn season 2 is also getting released early. Although I do want to be clear, we've said that we're almost 100% confident that they just split the season 1 order into 2 seasons. Well, but DC has clarified anything I've posted with an edit that I can't re-edit out, saying that this is not the official stance of DC and is based off rumor. So,
no, it was marketed as 26 episode season 1.
Yes.
And now we're mysteriously getting 2 13 episode seasons split by a small gap. It is one season that was split up. I thought they even confirmed that. Like, what do you...
No. So what happened? So I went back and I double checked everything. Okay.
What?
So I was like, this is really confusing. So why is this going on? So Newsdrama, which is where I got my source, said that the episode order was only 13 episodes now. However, they had sources that were saying that that had been 26 before and that was now 13. And they had sources which said that the other 13 episodes were still happening. And that then they said that it is normal for shows with 26 episode with animated orders to get split into 2 seasons. And that's probably what happened here.
Yeah, but what do they mean it's not our stance that we took one season and split it in 2? Because that's what they literally did.
Yes, I'm almost, but they have said that they have not. I'm gonna pull up the Applejack whole thing, but it's gonna take me a little bit.
We didn't split up the one season into 2 seasons. We just split up the one season into 2 seasons.
Well, maybe because it just makes the marketing team look better. It's.
I don't even know what they're trying to do. It's just weird.
Here you go. I found my post. Edit from the admins. This statement is speculative and does not reflect official information from DC Universe. And they edited my comments and then locked me out of being able to edit it.
What?
Yep, I can't edit my post anymore because they made an edit to my comments, said edit from the admins, and that's all they edited was the edit from the admin section that said this is speculative and does not reflect official information. Anyway, I'm a little confused about. So I guess it was never confirmed.
That's way less bad than I thought it was. But
by the way, below I posted my sources and everything, so I did everything. But anyway,
it is speculative. DC hasn't come out and said they split.
So one more clarification: the Newsdrama's report. The title was DC Universe's Harley Quinn Season 1 has only half the episodes ordered. and then said it's normal for animation studios to split into 2 seasons.
It's
anyway,
2 seasons now.
But I'm pretty sure that everything we said still stands. So 2 more things I want to talk about. One is we have some basic, and I mean basic sales numbers for comics this month. And we've been talking for a little bit how we talked last month about how they weren't going great, right? Well, I want to add some updates to that so that people can get a better sense of what this month looked like. Like, did DC recover? Did they not? Was it worse? Was it better? So here we go. The top comic for the month was Wolverine #1. We don't have the number of copies it sold, but it was Wolverine #1. And then X-Men #7. And then X-Men #6. And then Gwen Stacy. Then Giant Size X-Men, Jean Grey and Emma Frost #1. Then Star Wars Darth Vader. Then X-Men Fantastic Four. And then this is comics by dollar, which Batman Curse of the White Knight, The Joker Killer Smile #3, and DC Crimes of Passion #1. So by dollar, Marvel's had the top 7. By units, Marvel also had the top 7, with the only difference being at #6. Instead of it being Star Wars Darth Vader, it was Amazing Spider-Man number 39, and Darth Vader was one below that, and X-Men Fantastic Four was #9, and the Batman titles by units were number 8 and 10, which were the only DC comics in the whole list for top 10. So, to make this clear, X-Men doubled what DC got, over doubled what DC got this year for the top 10. And only Batman was able to make it into the top 10 by units.
Well, to be fair, X-Men should be getting this much because there's so many X-Men titles. And several of them were new #1s. Like,
let's be clear, only 3 of them were, but yeah.
Filling the market with this many X-Men titles is bound to mean that, yes, several of the X-Men titles are going to be top sellers.
Yeah. This was the first month of the ending of, although to be clear, they're ending a lot of the double shipping of the X-Men titles and adding new titles instead of double shipping, is for some clarity. But I think it's really notable just how, like, also I find it interesting, Giant Size X-Men number Jean Grey and Emma Frost is a silent issue, which is also why it's so notable it sold so well. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting, and will be interesting to see where the rest of the numbers fall. We'll be able to talk about that next week.
So, wait, out of curiosity, are you getting these numbers from Diamond Distribution?
These are from Comic-Con, who's normally reports on this stuff. I don't know I don't know enough about Comic-Con to tell you much. Other than that's normally where people get their sources of information. They're saying this data was released by Diamond Comics distributor.
So then we do have to figure in Diamond only covers physical copies sold, not digital.
Yes, but this is fairly standard. And maybe DC's a bunch of non-physical people, but I don't think that's accurate.
It should be indicative both ways.
Physical and DC not to be.
Yeah.
But Diamond doesn't have the ability to say others, right?
Yeah. It should be indicative of how it goes physical too, of how it goes digital too.
Yes.
But Marvel, and I'm not saying that Marvel's necessarily doing this, I'm just saying that I know they have done this in the past. They're a little trickier with Diamond distribution because Diamond only counts issues sold to distributors, not necessarily how many issues the distributors sold, just how many they sold to distributors. So Marvel will sometimes, say, all right, if you want this many copies of this series, then you have to get this many copies of this other series. The first series is probably going to sell really well. It's either like a big book, like
although I don't think
X-Men.
they did that with X-Men.
They could have, especially since, like maybe tack on, like the main X-Men title is probably going to sell fine. The first issue of Wolverine is going to sell fine. But some of them, and again, I'm not saying that they did this. It's entirely possible that it's completely on their own. I completely buy that, but it is possible that they decided that they tried to play with the numbers a little and get the comic shops to buy, extra copies of a series that doesn't matter as much. That's not going to sell as well.
Yeah, last word. X-Men Fantastic Four #1 is amazing. You should go read it. And X-Men #7 is also amazing. You should also go read it. Actually, all the X-Men titles on that list are amazing. And Batman was great too. Although Batman's only up there because it's Batman, not necessarily because of the creative team. That being said, James Tynion's doing a great job. Love him. So that's all I have to say on the sales numbers. I wish we had more information so we could do the same metric we did last time with the top 30, but that's okay. When 50% of the titles on the list are X-Men, that's telling you something. So the last thing I want to talk about is I'll give you guys a choice. Do you guys want to talk about the virus anymore? Or are you guys just so fed up about it?
Well,
I mean, I don't have anything to say.
I did. They recently announced that all schools in Vermont, or at least in my area, are going to be closing down in 2 days.
Okay. My school is canceled in Washington. We're canceled until April 24th.
Yeah.
And all the 24-hour stores are closing in the middle of the night to sanitize and then reopening.
They should only be open on the 12 hours that no one shows up to decrease people instead. This is what's weird. How many people rush to midnight? It's 2:00 in the morning, and they're and there's 20 billion people in there, and so they're closing because they want to restrict the number. It's just some stuff like that is a little weird, but that's okay. But I think that's really interesting. Thanks for sharing that. But for me, schools are closed like crazy, and then everything in Seattle shut down. Just because people don't want to go out. Also, the box office had its worst week on record in the last 20 years. So guys, be safe. Try as much as possible. If you're over 60, I know exactly one.
You guys keep cutting out. I can't hear anything.
Yeah.
And then I'll conclude. And then remember that there'll be a second episode, which is the Meta Madhouse discussion. But we'll call that part 2, so that you guys can watch that if you want to. So that's the end of the news report. So the last but not least here is your weekly TV show report. News report.
No.
What? I do it every week. It's good.
And every week, more
but wait, you sing a news report, but the whole point of this section is the news report. Shouldn't you do that at the very beginning of the podcast if we're splitting it in half?
Okay, let me rephrase it. Weekly TV show report. That better? I don't like that as much.
It's definitely not as catchy, but
okay.
not that the original is
TV show report. Anyway, on Sunday, Supergirl episode 15, Reality Bites will be out, and Batwoman episode 15, Off With Her Head. On Tuesday, The Flash episode 15, The Exorcism of Nash Wells, and Legend of Tomorrow episode 7, Romeo and Juliet, Dawn of Justness, where they meet Shakespeare. Ooh. And on Friday, All-Star Games episode 4 will be out, as well as Clone Wars episode 6. So wait, that's not DC. What? Oops. Sorry about that. Just random non-DC thing getting popped in there. I have one last thing to say. It just came in my head and I thought this was funny, and then we'll go. So just to end off, I have a story. So at school, we're playing this game called Hamlet Tag, where everyone in the grade has to memorize to be or not to be. And at any point outside of the class, we look our teacher's eye. If we look, make eye contact with our teacher, and we have to recite the entire "to be or not to be" speech from memory right there, and for a grade. And if we make it to the end of the year without ever making eye contact, we get a perfect score. It's just a random tradition. But what's weird is because of COVID-19, because of this thing going on, YouTube, please don't censor that. I don't know why YouTube's censoring that stuff. It's stupid.
I think they're trying to prevent the spread of misinformation, but it is.
I guess it's fair.
Yeah,
but she said she has our addresses, so she might be trying to get us if she gets bored during the entire month of April when we don't go to school and just show up at her house.
So you're just gonna be like sitting on your couch playing World of Warcraft, and then just like
she'll probably like knock
window and
probably like try things like knocking.
I prefer the image of like just the eyes poking above the window and just like dead stare at you.
I love it. But literally every time the door rings now, I'm like scared.
Why?
Because I want to get caught. Because I want to win.
Oh.
Just memorize "to be or not to be."
No, I haven't memorized. I just don't. I just want to win because you get a prize for winning.
Wait,
other
you
than
can't
just the perfect
win?
score.
Even if you have it perfectly memorized, you can't win.
You can only win if you don't get caught. Although you still got a perfect score with bonus points if you have it. They can say it from memory perfectly. But it's not the same.
That feels like ineffectual teaching, but I'll go with it.
It's just a game. Like, that's part of the fun. Right? It's like...
Yeah.
But anyway, that's all the news we have for you this week. We are on Podbean, Google Play, SoundCloud, and YouTube. So subscribe on those services. And we are not on Apple Podcasts because... I don't know.
Because
I'm running out of funny things to say about apples.
Because we're self-quarantining.
Oh, I came up with it. Because did you know, fun fact, in the state of Wisconsin, for a while, if you wanted to have apple pie, you had to serve it with cheese. And I'm against having cheese with apple pie. And I think cheese is better than apple pie. Therefore, we're not an Apple podcast.
I'm against having apple pie.
Plus, we have the best apple in the form of Applejack. So that's all we have for you on the news segment. Feel free to join us for the more stuff. Just because I think you guys should listen to the funnier, goofier segments where we talk about who's better at archaeology of Darkseid's invaders, who are all horrible people. But if you want to find out, you'll have to watch. Bye!